cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then my concern is this. I want to come over here while I'm speaking from here, and then when I'm done, because Mayor will be back here. Gentlemen, please rise, uncover. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. How are you feeling? Pretty good. Good. I hope you're feeling proud. Do you realize it's been less than 24 hours since you saw me last? You've been here not even a full day yet today, right? And think what you've already accomplished. We've laid the groundwork for your political parties, right? Many of you have already taken the reign of our statewide institutions, like the Highway Patrol. Where are my patrolmen? You got some patrolmen in the house? Yeah? Congratulations. Right? We've already got our Boise State media up and running. First news broadcast tomorrow night. And we've already filled our governor's cabinet. Where's our governor's cabinet? Huh? Congratulations, guys. And everybody in here has successfully completed your first elections and has established our 18 Missouri Boise State cities. Congratulations. And speaking of cities, gentlemen, tonight we are privileged to have the opportunity to hear from the elected mayor of a great American city, the city of St. Louis. That's right. Mayor Tishaura Jones holds degrees from Hampton University, the St. Louis University School of Public Health, and Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government. Prior to her career in public service, she served as a vice president of an investment banking firm and served on the adjunct faculty at the Anheuser-Busch School of Business at Harris-Stowe State University. Mayor Jones' career as a public service began in 2002 when she was appointed to the Democratic Party Central Committee for the St. Louis's 8th Ward. She then served 2 terms in the Missouri House of Representatives, and in 2012 was elected treasurer of the city of St. Louis. During her tenure as treasurer, she launched the Office of Financial Empowerment. Its College Kids program has helped over 18,000 public school students start saving for college through educational savings accounts, with over $1.5 million saved to date. That's impressive. In total, initiatives spearheaded by Mayor Jones have helped the city of St. Louis earn and save over $30 million and counting. She's a proud member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Inc., and her dedication to public service has earned her numerous accolades, including awards from the St. Louis Coalition for Human Rights. And on April 20th of this year, she was sworn in as the 47th mayor of St. Louis, becoming the first African-American woman to hold that office in the city's 257-year history. Boise State, please join me in welcoming Mayor Tishaura Jones.
What's up, Boise State? How y'all doing today? Good. Okay, I gotta ask. Where my St. Louisans at? We won't ask about Kansas City. It's a pleasure to join you this evening from the other side, or the best side of the state. And thank you, Boys State, for asking me to speak to you this evening. The one thing that wasn't mentioned in my bio is I am the single mom of the most adorable 13-year-old son. His name is Aiden, and hopefully he'll be interested in joining you one of these summers. Let's see, but he wants nothing to do. He wants nothing to do with politics. He's only concerned about the perks that come with this job, but anything else, he's like, why? All he wants to know is, do you get baseball tickets? But, you know, that's what's on the mind of a 13-year-old. 211, 212. What's the difference? Well, for those of us who believe in science, the difference between 211 and 212 degrees, just 1 degree, is the difference between hot water and boiling water. And when water boils, it makes steam. And steam is mighty enough to produce power, power to run trains, even entire cities. 1 degree, just 1 degree, makes a huge difference. It's what we literally call the boiling point, a tipping point, a moment that changes everything. No matter where you stand on the issues, and I think you'd agree with me, America has hit 212 degrees. We're at a boiling point, a tipping point, a moment that changes everything. And now that we've reached that boiling point, we must ask ourselves, will we panic, pass the blame, or solve the problem? Can I tell you a secret? I never wanted to be a politician. I am what some may call a reluctant leader. See, reluctant leaders are servants first. We're there for the greater good. We don't seek recognition. We're just there to do the work. And for many years, I was totally comfortable working in health administration under the late, great Betty Jean Kerr, a former nurse whose legacy is visible through several community health centers throughout St. Louis. And as far as being a visionary servant goes, I was good at it. And my work was fulfilling. But Ms. Kerr saw the steam in my engine and promoted me to my first executive role in her organization. It was while working for Ms. Kerr that someone asked me to use that same steam, that same power to run for state representative. And what was my answer? My first answer, no. My second response, and my third response was still, nope. But the more I was asked, the more I considered saying yes. Fun fact, a woman has to be asked to run for office on average 7 times before she says yes. So reluctantly, after I was asked several times, I began wrapping my mind around using my steam, my power to lead. And then it happened 14 years ago. Just as this train was about to leave the station, I got pregnant. And just like a locomotive slows down and the steam spews out of the pipe and goes poof, so did my dreams of public service. An unexpected pregnancy seemed to seal my fate, and I said no once again. And I realized that politics wasn't my path. But my mama, God rest her soul, used to always tell me that the quickest way to make God laugh is to tell him what you would never do. But I had all the questions. How am I going to be a single mom and raise this baby? Being a state rep would cut my income in half. How am I going to supplement my income and take care of my family? But for every question I had 2 good friends, men nonetheless, who convinced me I had to run for state rep. And the conversation went like this. So I'm gonna be over here and these are gonna be my friends, right? Follow me. This is me. I'm pregnant. I can't run for state rep. I shouldn't. I'm gonna be a mom. I gotta take care of this baby. That shouldn't be a problem. When are you due? Me, late September. Well, when does filing open? February of the next year, about 5 months later. Oh, that's perfect. You can have the baby, take off a few months, and then launch right before Christmas. Are you crazy? Trust us. We got you. It'll work out, we promise. So, just like that, the water was back to a boiling point, and the steam was moving this engine. And although I looked like I was in control, inside I panicked. I panicked at the thought of being a single mom. I couldn't pass the blame because I was in the driver's seat. So what I did, what I thought was best. I took the steps to solve the problem in front of me. If this was my calling to be a single mom and a public servant, then I was going to embrace it unapologetically. The birth of my son changed everything. He changed my reasons for running for office. His very existence was the steam behind my engine, my motivation, my why. Before, I was running to be someone. After my son was born, I was running to do something. My boiling point was motherhood, and it was the steam that powered my entry into public service. But it's not just me that reached a boiling point. There are countless examples of people who use their steam as a locomotive force for change. Now, some of you may think that the election of Kamala Harris broke the glass ceiling in the executive branch on the federal level for women. But what if I told you she wasn't the first? Let me present to some and introduce to others Edith Wilson, the first woman president. In late 1919, President Woodrow Wilson had a stroke. And guess who took over his duties while he was recovering? Not the vice president, Edith did. She stepped up and used her steam to lead this country until the end of his presidency in 1921. In America, we take for granted the education of young women and girls. Here, we tell our girls that they can be anything they want if they set their mind to it. But in Pakistan, only 13% of girls are still in school by the 9th grade. And this was the boiling point for Malala Yousafzai. She spoke up to defend the education of young women and girls. Unfortunately, her activism made her a target, and the Taliban tried to assassinate her. But that didn't stop her. She continued to speak up, most famously saying, "One child, one teacher, one book, one pen can change the world." And as a result of her activism, she became the youngest person to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. And last, but certainly not least, on August 9th, 2014, we reached a boiling point in St. Louis, in our own backyard. In the aftermath of the death of Mike Brown, several reluctant leaders turned activists used their steam, their power, to create a locomotive force for change. Bruce Franks became a state representative. Rasheen Aldridge also became a state representative and was appointed to President Obama's task force on 21st century policing. Kimberly Gardner and Wesley Bell were elected as the first Black prosecutors in St. Louis City and St. Louis County, respectively. And most famously, there was Cori Bush, a single mom, pastor, and nurse, who became the first Black woman elected to Congress from the state of Missouri. See, in all of these examples, there's a boiling point, a tipping point, a moment that changes everything. And it was each of these people, each of these moments that kept me at my boiling point and created the steam that powered me into the mayor's office in the city of St. Louis. And I know I'm speaking to a room full of wonderful, handsome young men about many of my favorite women, but let me be clear. Regardless of your gender, your skin color, who you love, how you worship, or any identity you hold, you have the power to be an individual that changes the world. And for every grassroots moment and movement in history, reluctant leaders have reached a boiling point and have used their power for good and not evil. They were already there, serving the people, serving the community. doing the work, and a boiling point, a tipping point, push them forward to lead. Currently, our country's at a boiling point. A global pandemic, a reckoning on racial justice, unprecedented unemployment, millions on the verge of eviction, and the list goes on and on. But what will it take for you to get to 212, to that boiling point, to produce steam? Because steam produces power, and you could produce enough steam, enough power, enough force to change the world. Thank you.
Mayor Jones, we can't thank you enough for being here. I understand you've agreed to take some questions from our young men. I know they're excited, been thinking hard about what they'd like to ask you. And so if you guys would like to approach the microphones. Should we start up in the balcony tonight? It's only fair, right?
You hear me? Yeah. I'm Evan Casey. I'm from Clark City, and my question is, what are some of the biggest climate change issues that are or you believe will be affecting St. Louis, and how do you plan on dealing with them?
The biggest climate change issues?
Yes.
Wow, that's a great question. Because climate change affects all of our cities. Obviously, pollution is going to be paramount because a lot of people, St. Louis is geographically sparse. A lot of people use their cars to travel back and forth. So one of the ways that I'm going to try to address that is I'm working currently to try to expand more options for public transportation and expand our MetroLink and trains and add new routes so people can get to work and do it by reducing their carbon footprint.
Thank you.
My name is Kyle Maynor. I'm representing Gambrel City, and my question is, what is the biggest obstacle you have faced so far as mayor?
Wow, the biggest obstacle I have faced so far as mayor, I would say that sexism and misogyny are still real and alive and well. And I have been on the receiving end from our local media. You know, even though most mayors have given a sort of grace period to get adjusted, I still continue to be attacked by some of my local media outlets. But while it is a challenge, I don't see it as insurmountable. And I would say the second part of that is we have two jails in St. Louis that have been the subject of the news lately, and we are desperately trying to fix them in the midst of closing one of them. And so that has been our biggest challenge, but my staff have risen to the challenge and have put together a comprehensive plan that's going to make sure that we keep people safe and also treat our residents or our detainees with dignity and respect.
Hi, Mayor Jones. I'm Elliot Smith from Cleaver City back there, but also Kansas City, and I won't apologize for it. In your past, you've been a leader in community organizing across St. Louis, and you've been applauded by a lot of progressives for doing so. And so I wanted to ask, how would we all go back to our communities and organize like you have?
So how can you organize for impact? I would say the biggest thing you can do is volunteer for candidates that you believe in. These races are expensive, and where we can find a volunteer that we don't have to pay. My campaign manager's in the back here. She would definitely say that. And then also showing up to your local meetings, these city council meetings, the meetings that are in your community. A lot of times people don't know about them and don't even care to show up and speak out. So that's the two ways I think that you can be very active. Volunteer, get involved, and stay in your elected officials' faces so they know who you are and they respond to you.
Thank you.
Are we back in the balcony?
Hi there. My name is Mason Gates, representing Clark City and a hopeful candidate for Missouri Boys State Governor. You have stated in the past that the St. Louis Police Department budget is, quote, too much. You also went on to clarify that you do support defunding the police. Why do you believe we should defund the police in a time when crime is rising rapidly? And how would you suppose we reallocate those funds?
Great question. So the budget that I sent to the Board of Aldermen reduced the police budget by $4 million. And I took that $4 million from open positions that had not been filled in decades, and the chief told me that he was having a problem filling them, but it's a shell game. So they have these open positions that they don't fill in order to then transfer that to overtime. They already have an overtime budget that they have overspent every year by several $1 million. Now, I'm not saying that police don't deserve overtime, but the things that we're doing with the money we took from the police budget are things that are going to help our officers who are exhausted. So we're investing in victim services, we're investing in more social workers, and it's important that we invest in 911 operators so we deploy the right professional to the right call. Police are called for everything, and they're not equipped to handle every call that they go to, because sometimes some of those calls can end up in the death or injury of a citizen who needs help and not a law enforcement response. So we're taking a lot of things off of our officers' plates by deploying the right professional, a social worker, a mental health counselor, a substance abuse counselor, to the right call, so they can then be freed up to do police work, which is the work that they were trained to do in our academies.
To your right, Mayor.
Hello, my name is Marquise. I'm from Donovan City.
I know this guy.
You do know me.
Hey, Marquise! Hey!
I just want to thank you for establishing St. Louis supremacy, the first thing you did in your speech. Can you talk a little bit more about the impact that the murder of Michael Brown had on you and the movement to reimagine public safety in St. Louis?
Thank you. And again, good to see you, Marquise. I'm so happy that you're here. So as the mother of a black son, that was the most important impact that the death of Mike Brown had on me. As I was running for mayor, this was my second time running, but my son and I were having a conversation about all of the things that the mayor's responsible for. And I went through like all of the departments, and then when I got to the police, he said, "Oh, you're gonna be over the police?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, that means I'll be safe." And his mother should not have to become mayor in order for him to feel safe for interactions with our law enforcement. And at the same time, our law enforcement have to see our young black men as boys and allow them the space and the opportunity to make mistakes and still survive to tell the story that they made a mistake. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. And then also I got a chance to meet and become really good friends with Michael Brown's mother, Leslie. And there are several times that I text her during the year, but I am most sensitive to her around his birthday, which is in May. And there is no pain greater than losing a child. And I identify with that because I look and I think, I try to put myself in her shoes. What if that was my son? And so I try to empathize and sympathize with all mothers who have lost their babies. And so I see it as my job as mayor to make sure that we provide an environment where our children are able to thrive and are able to survive interactions with law enforcement, and that our law enforcement in turn sees our children as children.
Hello, my name is Andrew Smith. I am from Winfield. I am in part of the Federalist Party, and I I have a question for you. As Mayor Jones, with the debate about the BLM movement and how it is worded, what is the best way to talk about it in an open and honest conversation?
That's a great question. The best way to talk about BLM in open and honest conversation, I think the one word that misses when we say Black Lives Matter, that's missing from that, we're saying Black Lives Matter too. We're trying to say that our lives matter as much as everybody else's lives matter. And I think that has gotten lost in some of the conversation. And we're not trying to say that any other life is worth less. We're just trying to say that our life is worth something too.
Thank you, Mayor Jones.
Back to the balcony.
Good evening.
Hi.
Jalen Lee from Richardson City as well as St. Louis City and County. Mayor Jones, such an honorary name amongst us tonight. My question is, what words could you leave us with that will resonate with young men to keep them growing through trials and tribulations?
Oh, words of wisdom. Well, one of them was in my speech. You know, the quickest way to make God laugh is to tell him what you would never do. So be open to all of the possibilities. Life is your oyster. So take advantage of every opportunity that you have available to you. I wish that I could have done something like this. I didn't want anything to do with politics when I was coming up. My dad was in politics, and I was like, no, sir, no, I don't want to do that. And I would also say, be your authentic self. Show up as your authentic self every time that you can, because people will appreciate that you show them who you really are and not some version of yourself.
Hi, my name is Evan Goldstein. I am from Cleaver City, and I'm also from Chesterfield, Missouri, which is in close proximity to St. Louis City.
I know where Chesterfield is. Yeah.
I know the city of St. Louis historically has had problems with racial divide. I was wondering, what are you doing to solve these issues, such as the Del Mar Divide?
Yeah, so I am the first mayor that lives north of the Del Mar Divide in about 25 years. And so being from North St. Louis, born and raised in North St. Louis, I think gives me a different outlook in how I lead and how I recognize that things that are not there or not present in our policies, how we spend our money, how we decide to invest in, is that me? Okay. How we decide to invest in communities. And so one of my, I guess my North Star in this administration is to make investments in North St. Louis and parts of South St. Louis so we can try to get rid of that divide. Because one of the reasons why there is a divide is that people are not thriving north of Del Mar. So how do we create the environment where people are thriving and we have businesses and places for people to go and commercial industry north of Del Mar? That way people will move throughout the city and you'll have things to do and places to go and healthy places to live no matter where you live in St. Louis. The key premise of my campaign was that you should be able to succeed in St. Louis no matter your skin color, zip code, who you love, how you worship, or any identity you hold. So that's what I want to make happen in St. Louis.
Hello to everyone. My name is Andrew Struckoff. I'm a citizen of Con City. Yeah, it's a pleasure, Mayor Jones. And as you certainly know, St. Louis has gained national attention for its very high drug usage rates. I was wondering what you plan to do in your earlier days as mayor to prevent this problem from escalating further.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we have an unprecedented opportunity in front of us. We've received over $517 million from the American Recovery Act. And we are putting, actually, it's tomorrow, we're putting forth a plan to spend the first $68 million in direct relief. And part of that is going to make sure that we are funding mental health and substance abuse. because two of the things that receive the least funding in our city or in our state actually are mental health resources and substance abuse resources. And so as mayor, I'm going to put more money there so we can have sobering centers, for example, so people are taken to a sobering center instead of jail when they are inebriated or high, so they have a safe place to recover. And then also putting together our network of resources for people who need help and trying to give them more resources to deliver services to our city.
Hi, my name is Eugene Renner. I'm representing Crowder City and also St. Louis.
Hey!
My question is, what advice could you give me to better my school community with the Black Student Union that I am founding?
You're founding a Black Student Union?
Yes, ma'am.
So the advice I could give you as you form that union is, it's going to be difficult, but you got to get as many people involved and engaged as possible. A lot of times when you form new groups, only 20% of the people do 80% of the work. And so you have to try to flip that. So you get as many volunteers and people that are going to be a part of your organization and actually do the work, because that determines the success of the organization.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Thomas Gilpin. I'm representing Whitfield City. I was wondering what you felt about the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, saying she will only offer one-on-one interviews to people of color, and what do you think that says about race relations in this country?
Wow, so I hadn't heard that Mayor Lightfoot said that. However, as someone who's been attacked by the press probably as frequently as she has, I understand where she's coming from, because you know, a lot of times you know, our white counterparts in the press do not treat Black people, especially Black women, as fair and objective, because the journalism is supposed to be the third rail and supposed to be objective, and a lot of times they aren't. And especially now, as we've seen with the advent of social media, it's made it worse. So people have just kind of gone to their separate ends, and there's no room for discussion in the middle anymore. So I'm pretty sure she has a reason for that. I unfortunately don't have that same that same sort of edict or same mantra of only interviewing with African American journalists, because if I did, I would only interview with like 2 in St. Louis, so I can't afford to do that.
Hi, my name is Leighton Lipke, and I'm from Cleaver City. Thank you for being here, by the way. So Mayor Jones, St. Louis is a beautiful city with amazing historical significance. In the past few decades, however, the city has been on the economic and populist decline. In what ways do you plan on improving infrastructure to help return the city to its former glory? Thank you.
That's a great question. So about a week ago, I announced the nomination of my new executive director of the St. Louis Development Corporation. His name is Neil Richardson. And Neil has about 15 years experience in building community through his work at U.S. Bank, the CDC portion, like making sure that putting together the capital stack and using tax credits to spur development in other cities. So he's going to bring that expertise to our city, even though he's born and raised in St. Louis. And then also a program that he's working on, which I think we should bring into the city, is called Dream Builders for Equity, where he takes high school boys, and there's some women, but it's mostly men, and they fix up houses that have been on the city's rolls that are about to be torn down or just falling apart. They fix them back up, and then they sell them. They teach them how to fix these houses, and they teach them about real estate investment. And the proceeds from the sale of that house go back to the students who are in the program into their accounts. And they also go through a whole host of classes on financial literacy and job training, and many of them end up in the trades after they finish this program. And so I think it's programs like that and the kind of ingenuity that Neil brings to the table, that we're going to make sure that we are pushing forward St. Louis to turn that corner and become a city that people want to move to. And Neil, when he was interviewing, he said his goal was to increase the population of St. Louis by 30,000 in 10 years. And I think that with him there, with me there, I think we can make that happen.
Hi, my name's Alex Kors, and I'm from Clark City right now and from St. Charles. And my question is, historically, St. Louis has always had a very high crime rate. I want to know what you're doing to lower the crime rate in the city rather than just developing new ways to respond to the crime.
Great question, and shout out to St. Charles. One of the things I campaign on, and what we're starting to do, is address crime at the root cause. I believe that the father of crime is poverty. And if we fix poverty, or all of the inputs of poverty, then we start to see crime start to decrease. And so how do you fix that? So the things that we're going to be investing in this summer, we're going to make our youth jobs program more robust, give our young people something to do instead of being out on the street, because I truly believe that if you're picking up a paycheck, you're not picking up a gun. Also, again, investing in our other resources that are the root causes of crime, mental health services, substance abuse services, and then also we're going to work with our flagship universities and hospitals to declare gun violence as a public health crisis, because anybody over 18 can get a gun and doesn't have to have a license for it. Unfortunately, due to something that passed, a law that passed in the legislature in 2013. And since then, our gun violence has skyrocketed. And so we're never gonna agree on whether or not we're gonna get guns off the street. Everybody seems to have a gun now. And I'm not against anybody having a weapon. I just think that they should be licensed. And just like we have cars and they're licensed, so we know who owns what. So since we're never going to get rid of guns, then how can we work with giving people opportunity and giving them alternatives to picking up a gun?
Hello, Mayor Jones. How are you?
Hi.
My name is Justin Kennedy. I'm representing Weir City, but I'm also from St. Louis, University City specifically, about a minute from the Del Mar Divide. Our question's about education system in St. Louis, but I didn't go through the public education system. I went through private because of the terrible experiences my parents had and my sister had with teachers who don't care about the growth of their students, outdated curriculums, underfunded programs. And that seems to be a consensus for everyone around St. Louis and also around Missouri as a whole, and specifically in underfunded and underprivileged African American communities. So as a person of color and the new mayor of St. Louis, do you have any plans to fix these issues, and do you recognize them as real issues?
So your last question first, yes, I recognize them as a real issue, but two, I don't have the power to fix the education system, as the mayor does not have any control over our education system in the city of St. Louis. But that does not mean that the mayor can't be a better partner in how can I fix the environment in which our children show up to school. And so I see that as my primary job. How can I decrease crime and decrease the inputs of crime so our children don't come to school traumatized over what they saw last night, last weekend, last month? How can I fix the environment for their parents so their parents are making more money and are at home and have flexible schedules to help their children with homework? And so that kids aren't worried about where their next meal is going to come from or are moving all of the time, because 58% of our school population is transient. And we have 5,000 students who are homeless in St. Louis public schools. So I see my job as fixing all of the inputs that children experience so they can come to school as a whole person and ready to learn.
Hi there. First, I just want to say congratulations on your big win, and I love the story. My name is Ian Mannings. I'm from Manchester, Missouri. I'm also part of the, I can't think. I'm nervous. Pershing. There you go. Thank you. All right. What's your advice on engaging with this program? How did you manage to get a good idea of politics? Did you ever read books on how? I feel a little lost.
So my father was the comptroller of the city of St. Louis, and before he was comptroller, he was assessor and alderman and committee man. And so I grew up from the time I was about 3 years old. He was always running some campaign or helping somebody else with their campaign. He was a student of William Clay Sr. when he was in Congress. So I grew up in this. And like I said, funny thing is, I never wanted to be a politician. But there are some things that are ordained on your life that you can't control. So like I said, the quickest way to make God laugh is to tell him what you would never do, because at some point during my life, I must have said to God that I never want to be a politician. And he said, I got something for you, sister. Because of that experience, I think laid the groundwork for me, kind of indirectly, and by the time I got involved in politics, it just kind of felt natural to me, because I do feel like this is the work that I was called to do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Mayor Jones. My name is Kieron Banks, representing the Great Blair City. I was just wondering, since you have already spoken on the Black Lives Matter movement, how do you plan on reinstalling trust into the people, more of the black people, the black kids and adults?
Well, trust is earned, and it takes time. And fortunately, I hope that people will see that my work speaks for me. And the things that I do for this city will speak for me. There's an old Bible verse that says, let the work that I do speak for you, right? Or let the work you do speak for you. So hopefully people will begin to trust government and trust me as I continue to deliver on the promises that I made when I was on the campaign trail.
Mayor Jones, this will be the last question.
Hi, I'm Cameron Short from St. Charles County and from Doniphan City. And my question for you is, what would be your biggest regret or failure in your eyes in your run within politics?
Ooh, my biggest regret. My biggest regret is that I didn't take time to build better relationships with the Board of Aldermen, actually. There are several aldermen who I don't have the best relationship with. I'm trying to fix that now, but I wish that I had taken the time to build those building blocks beforehand, and that way I wouldn't have to take so much time trying to build those relationships now. But relationship building is key to anybody who's going to be successful in politics. And so I would say to all of you, make sure you build those relationships as you're moving through your careers, because they will help you in the long run.
Gentlemen, Mayor Jones, in addition to making a long drive from St. Louis to Warrensburg, thank you very much. Some of you obviously know how that feels coming in yesterday, has graciously agreed to help us with a little official business tonight. As I mentioned earlier, we held an election today. You guys remember that? We've got 18 mayors, right? Why don't you join me on stage? You guys can come on up here. Right. Looking good. Right here in the lines, right? Do 2 lines is good. 18 mayors is a lot of mayors. Okay. Mayor Jones has graciously agreed to administer the oath of office to your Boise State mayors. Mayor Jones.
Great. Well, congratulations to all of you on becoming mayor. I'm sure that it's going to be a wonderful week as you try to lead your cities. And please know that you will be blamed for everything and responsible for nothing. So please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Missouri, and the Constitution of Boise State, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of mayor according to my best ability. Congratulations.
Gentlemen, we have one last piece of business. I'm sure you'll agree with me that Mayor Jones' remarks tonight will serve as a guide to our 18 new mayors and also to the rest of Missouri Boise State for this whole week, right? Mayor Jones, if you're willing, I would like to invite you to be an honorary member of our Missouri Boise State counseling staff. And to be a member of our staff, you have to have a staff shirt. Right. Oh, you want to do it over here? We're just, the photographer's always in charge, I suppose. Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Mayor Jones. I really thank you so much. Last round of applause for Mayor Jones. Thank you. Gentlemen, you can return to your seats. Huh? Come on down. Boise State, earlier this afternoon, many of you were here in Hendricks Hall, right? And we were talking about the importance of listening to, right, and hearing from, experiencing, engaging with people with experiences, backgrounds different than yourself. Do you remember that talk? Right? And so this afternoon we told you about that, right? And this evening, you got a chance to experience that, didn't you? Right? What you heard from the stage was just incredible. Right? And that was an opportunity to engage with an elected official with a very different background, of course, for many of you, for all of us, of course, at some levels. But you'll have more of those opportunities all throughout the week with each other. and I hope you take advantage of that, right? We've got a lot of great work to do this week. You guys are off to an absolutely incredible job. Keep up the great work. Congratulations. And now we'll release you back to your cities. I think we're going to go with a slightly different process this evening. Okay? Right. And so maybe we can get the music back up. We'll release. Mayors, why don't you come back with me backstage? Mayor Jones is finishing with the Boise State media. Right? Right? You're dismissed. What you guys